With just 4 F1 weekends left, including 2 sprints, I thought this would be a good time to look at our 3 championship contenders. I'm sorry, but I'm counting Russell out, and see what they would need to do to win the championship. And at the end, for just fun, give you my prediction for who I think will win the title as we come into this last leg. Let's jump into it. This video is brought to you by checkmythumbnail.com, the analysis tool for YouTubers by YouTubers. Try it free today. So with just 4 races to go, including 2 sprints, there is 36 points running between the top 3 people in the title fight, just 1 point between Norris and Piastri, and then 35 points further back to Verstappen, who definitely, you would have to say, has momentum on his side, regardless of Mexico, where I just think he was always going to be doing damage limitation, which, might I say, he did brilliantly. So let's look at these drivers, and I've kind of mapped out here what they would need to do to win and so on. And for Norris, it's pretty straightforward, so I think let's stay there. If Norris finishes ahead of Piastri in every remaining race and sprint, he's champion. Even 1 place ahead in each keeps him at arm's length. This is him versus Piastri, obviously. Versus Verstappen, if Norris finishes P2 at every remaining race and P2 in both sprints, Verstappen cannot catch him even by winning everything, because Max would only gain 30 points in that instance. 7 points for each of the Grand Prix and 1 point per sprint weekend, giving him 30 points overall. Still short of the 36 points he needs to gain. Meaning that, unfortunately for Max, even if he is absolutely perfect for the next 4 weekends, winning is still out of his control. He needs the McLarens to either take points off each other, or say if it's just Norris, for Norris to finish at least P3 a couple of times in order to win that championship. If both McLarens go P1 and P2 from here onwards, each win where Norris beats Piastri would net him 7 points, 1 point per sprint. So Norris winning essentially just means staying ahead of Piastri and staying very, very, very close to Verstappen, if not ahead, which I think is going to make it interesting, but I'll talk about that at the end when I give my predictions. Piastri needs to outscore Norris by 2 points over the next few races, which again isn't a huge ask. If he wins 1 Grand Prix and Norris finishes P2, that's a 7-point swing, so pretty easily done. And like Norris, if Oscar banks consistent P2s behind Verstappen, doing a clean sweep of winning everything, Verstappen still doesn't beat him because, sure, it's 35 points, but Verstappen would still only gain 30 points, for example. But when it comes to Piastri, for example, what's most interesting about this is the sprints very much are in play here. If Norris and Piastri are kind of up and down over the next 4 races, and Verstappen is winning and kind of jumping in the line there and hunting them down, 1 or 2 points in a sprint for Piastri v Norris could be hugely, hugely important. Max, though, still has the hardest job to do, and if it was any other driver, we'd probably be saying this is a pretty tough ask. Verstappen, being the generational talent that he is, though, is still very much in contention as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, even winning all 4 Grand Prix and both sprints isn't enough to win the championship versus either McLaren, either being the important part. Therefore, Max's path requires at least one of the McLarens finish P3 or worse in some sessions. If Max wins all 4 Grand Prix and Norris, for example, goes P2 in 3 of them, P3 once, Max then gains 31 points, so he would still need a sprint or 2 to catch up in that position. Add Max winning both sprints with Norris P3 once in a sprint, there's 2 more points, it's 33 points, still not enough. So he would need a few times for the leading McLaren to be outside of P2. Importantly, if the McLarens are swapping P2 and P3, that's where Max could really catch up there. A single Grand Prix where Norris is P4 instead of P3 while Max continues to win creates a 13-point swing, and that really reopens the fight. So Norris simply wins the title by staying in front of Piastri and finishing second to Max in every single instance. Piastri needs to jump Norris at least at 1 or 2 events and stay ahead of Verstappen or as close to Verstappen as possible. And Verstappen, unfortunately, needs to be pretty much perfect, or he needs the McLarens to have some bad luck and so on. Where I think this is going to shake out, if I'm honest, is I think Max is going to win it. The simple reason for that is, while this is not exactly like, say, last year with the fight versus Norris, or even 2007, where we had this kind of very situation of two McLaren drivers taking points off each other as, you know, the Ferrari kind of fought its way back through and Raikkonen did such a good job. It's not exactly like that for a variety of reasons. I do think Max is going to be pretty much perfect over the next few races. And I do think we're going to have a situation of Piastri will come back, and I think he'll be taking points off of Norris repeatedly throughout this last run of 4 races. I think Max will be almost perfect there. Importantly as well, it's the track lineups that we have. So while I think that in Brazil, unless we get rainy weather, it should be pretty close, I do think Max could easily win this here. And if Norris comes P2, while it's not exactly what Max will need, it puts him on his way. I think in Las Vegas is where we're going to see a bigger issue. I really think that the McLarens are going to struggle in Las Vegas, and that's where I could see Max gaining quite a few points. And I could also see drivers like Russell and Leclerc getting in the fight there, which I think importantly is going to be the last thing that McLaren need. Last thing that Max needs as well, if there's anywhere where the pace is bad. But yeah, I think Las Vegas is the one where Max could easily gain 15 or 16 points on both of the McLarens. And that really, makes it just a proper fight between them. For Qatar, where I think they're going to be very, very close. I think Qatar and Brazil, they're going to be very, very close. I think in Vegas, the Red Bull should have the upper hand. And I think in Abu Dhabi, the McLaren should very much have the upper hand. I think it's not going to be a very, very strong fighting ground for the Red Bull. So it's really going to be who maximizes the 2 races where their car isn't the strongest. And that's where I think Max is going to make all the difference, because Max, frankly, just makes the best of everything. And it should be said as well that Red Bull too are brilliant at, and they always have been, or they have been for a very long time, at capitalizing and getting the strategy right. And that's where I could see Red Bull really, really pulling it home. So yeah, I think it's going to be a situation where Max is going to win the title. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, though, maybe. And I would not be surprised if by the end, a lot of Max fans are ruining the Barcelona incident, for example, with Russell, where Max lost control of his mind a little bit. But yeah, we'll see. Let me know what you think. Give me your predictions in the comments. I'm really looking forward to this 5-week run to the final now. Subscribe.